All right, hello there. Today we're diving into a cracking story from the front lines of digital marketing. It's all about strategy, ambition, and, well, some rather clever online warfare. And our battleground for this one, the incredibly competitive tourist scene in Budapest. And make no mistake, that's exactly what this was. We're not talking about a gentle nudge up the Google rankings here. Oh no. This was a full-scale, gloves-off campaign to completely, utterly dominate a market. The stakes were incredibly high, and the tactics, well, as you're about to see, they were brilliantly aggressive.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this battlefield, you've got to understand the lay of the land first. The shooting scene across Europe is, well, it's a bit of a regulatory mosaic. Every country's got its own set of rules, its own culture, and of course, its own opportunities.
And this is where it gets really interesting. You see this massive contrast, right? Over in places like the UK or Spain, shooting is mostly a sport for club members. Air rifles, bit of clay pigeon shooting. But then you look at Central Europe, Hungary, the Czech Republic, and it's a completely different kettle of fish. It's a commercial venture, built from the ground up for tourists who want a proper firearms experience. And that, my friends, is a huge business opportunity. And the absolute epicenter of all this action, Budapest. It's one of the top things tourists want to do in the city. You've got just a handful of big players dominating the scene, and the competition between them is, well, intense is putting it mildly. This is where our story really kicks off. Now, here's where things get really interesting. In any battle, you're always looking for a weakness, right? A little chink in the armor. And in this digital scrap, a major competitor had a flaw, a fatal one, as it turned out. And it all came from them getting just a bit too comfortable at the top. So let me ask you this. What if your main competitor's brand wasn't actually a brand at all? What if the very name everyone was searching for was just a generic, high-volume search term? A really simple, powerful keyword. That right there, that was the big light bulb moment. And that was the chink in the armor. The competitor had gotten lazy, you see. Their so-called brand name was basically just Budapest Shooting. They hadn't bothered to build a proper brand, an actual identity. They were just riding the wave of that popular search term for years. And that, well, that left them wide open for an attack. So what was the counterattack? Oh, it was a beauty. The strategy wasn't just to compete. It was to build an entire digital fortress around that keyword, effectively locking the competitor out of what they thought was their own territory. They called it the domain lockout, and it's one of those ideas that's so simple, it's brilliant. You find the keyword that basically runs the market, and then you go out and you buy up every single relevant domain name you can think of. It's like you're not just trying to win the game, you're buying the whole stadium. And here's how they did it. Just look at this. They went out and secured 9 different country-specific domains. So for all the tourists searching from the UK, boom, they had the .co.uk. For the Germans, they grabbed the .de. For the French, .fr. You get the idea. They essentially surrounded the competitor's generic .u website with this ring of powerful, hyper-localized domains. Absolutely brilliant. But, of course, a plan this aggressive is never straightforward, is it? This kind of digital battlefield is absolutely littered with landmines. You make one wrong move, and the whole beautiful fortress you've just built could come tumbling down. I mean, the risks were very real. First off, you could get a massive penalty from Google for what looks like trying to game the system. You could also end up competing against yourself, what us marketing folk call cannibalisation, where your own sites fight each other for rankings. Or worse, you could just confuse Google so much that nothing ranks. The whole thing required absolute surgical precision. And a huge part of that precision was about working with Google's AI, not against it. There's this thing called RankBrain. Basically, it's the part of Google that tries to figure out what someone really wants when they type something in. So the goal here was to gently teach RankBrain that the competitor's name wasn't a real brand. It was just an old SEO trick, and that these new, shiny sites were the ones that actually gave people what they were looking for. And you know what? That vigilance was put to the test almost straight away. Right after launch, the team spotted a problem, a self-inflicted one. They had a network of dodgy, old-school links sitting in the footers of all 9 sites, a huge red flag for Google. So they had to move, and move fast. Within 48 hours, every single one of those risky links was gone, surgically removed and replaced with much safer, more natural ones. It was a swift, decisive move to save their new fortress from crumbling. So what does it actually take to pull something like this off? Let's pull the trigger on this next insight, because when you see the sheer scale of the work involved, well, it's really quite something. 513. That's how many pages of content they built. And not just any pages, each one fully localized with text and images tailored for visitors from 9 different countries. 7,344. That's how many lines of code were written. And that was just for the sitemap architecture, the digital blueprint that tells Google how all these hundreds of pages are connected. And 1,620. The number of images that had to be meticulously processed and optimized so that search engines would love them. And here's the kicker. They did all of that in just 11 days, apparently fueled by about 2.5 kilos of coffee, which, let's be honest, sounds about right for a job that size. So what was the result of all that caffeine-fueled work? A successful domain lockout. The foundation was well and truly built. They now controlled the digital high ground for Budapest's key tourist markets. But, and this is a big but, this was only phase 1. Because the ultimate prize, the real end game, is something we call a SERP lockout. SERP just stands for Search Engine Results Page, and the goal here isn't just to be number 1 on the list. Oh no, it's to own the entire first page of Google. The map, the images, all the top results, everything. You push your competitors so far down the page they basically become invisible. Right then, let's aim for the real target now. What does all this actually mean for your business? Because this isn't just a fun war story, it's a practical blueprint for how you should be thinking strategically. So before you even dream of launching your own ambitious campaign, you've got to be able to answer 3 absolutely fundamental questions, honestly. Okay, here's your checklist. Number 1, profitability. You have to know the lifetime value of your average customer. What are they actually worth to you? That's what justifies a big, bold play like this. Number 2, operations. It's no good getting a flood of new business if your booking system collapses, is it? So what's your single biggest bottleneck? Be honest. And finally, number 3, ambition. You need a clear target. Forget vague goals like more traffic. Which specific high-profit service do you want, say, 30% more leads for? Get crystal clear on those 3 things, and you're not just doing marketing anymore, you're building your own fortress. Keep your sights sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.